call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the February 3rd, 2026 meeting of the Bryan Board of Public Affairs. Pat, will you please do roll call?
Debra?
Present.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Bryan?
Present.
Karen?
Present.
Annette?
Here. Thank you. First on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the January 20th, 2026 meeting. Everyone has been supplied with a copy of the minutes. Are there any corrections to the way that they are written? If there are none, may I have a motion to accept the minutes as written?
So moved.
Second.
Bryan?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Debra?
Yes.
Next on the agenda is hearing the public concerns. Anyone here and present like to come to the podium? Seeing none. Next on the agenda is a resolution. Pat, will you please number and read?
This is resolution number 4, 2026, authorizing Carrie Slade as delegate and Debra Beevers as alternate to represent the city of Bryan as a member of the Board of Directors of the Ohio Municipal Electric Association in 2026.
Okay, this resolution was discussed at the BPA meeting on January 20th, 2026, designating Mayor Carrie Slade as the OMEA designee and Debra Beevers as the OMEA alternate for 2026. The board is requested to approve this designation as part of the annual appointment process. May I have a motion to approve resolution number 4?
I'll make a motion. Second then.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Bryan?
Yes.
Debra?
Yes.
Next on the agenda is another resolution. Pat, will you please number and read?
Resolution number 5, 2026, authorizing the Director of Utilities to advertise for bids for the GE number 6 General Electric Control System Upgrade Project.
Okay. Jim, would you like to explain this one?
If you recall, back in 2020 and 2021, the spring of 2021, we took Westinghouse number 2 on the fall of 2020 and Westinghouse number 1, designated as GT1, up from pneumatic controls to a Allen Bradley PLC controlled device in order to take away a lot of the uncertainty of pneumatic controls. The GE was not upgraded at that time, and it is 1963 controls, which are approximately 10 years older than what was on the Westinghouses. And we're formally requesting that we can go out for bid in order to bring up the controls for the GE to the same level so that we can speed control it better and also allow it to be much more reliable for the future. And hopefully with being able to control the speed more effectively, we can get maybe even 500 kilowatts more out of it than what we currently do, because everything's so worn, we can't run it at full speed.
So in summary, this resolution authorizes the Director of Utilities to advertise for bids for the GE6 General Electric Control System Upgrade. GE6 is one of the 3 combustion turbines used to generate electricity during emergencies, peak demand periods, and transmission disturbances. It is the final turbine requiring a control system upgrade to improve reliability, troubleshooting capabilities, and overall asset availability. Funding for this project has been included in the 2026 electric capital budget, and the Bryan Municipal Utilities staff recommend proceeding with the bid advertisement in accordance with the established plans and specifications. We respectfully request the board to approve this resolution authorizing advertisement for bids for the GE6 control system upgrade. Anybody have any questions for Jim?
I do.
I won't put you on the spot either. Why do you have periods of time specified, that it'll be completed between October and December or in March to May of 2027?
Those are typically not the times that peak shading happens. The capacity portion of PJM peak shading happens between June 1st and September 30th. And then the transmission portion that AEP is involved in happens from November 1st through October 31st. Typically, the months of March, April, and May, it's warm enough that we don't have to peak shade for being too cold, but it's not hot enough yet to peak shade for the transmission portion. And then once June 1st shows up, we like to do it by May 15th so that we can do some maintenance runs on it to make sure that if there's any issues, we have time to repair it before June 1 shows up. And then conversely, it's kind of the same thing in the fall, is we need to make sure that we're operational at least to October 1st. And then December 15th, we do the same thing. We've had a couple of years where in December we've actually ran, but typically it's like it was this year. January 20th through February 10th. We've ran 7 times since Martin Luther King Day. And that's why those times are specified, because it's the time that we typically don't need generation.
And the reason you generate is to save the city money.
Yeah, well, okay, I'll go ahead and explain the rest of that. The capacity portion of the bill, there's capacity, transmission, and the actual electricity. It's kind of like a water line where you have the pipe, that's the transmission. The water is how much water you have, and then the flow, how much capacity does the source have the ability to put out. So you can't really control the electricity because so many people are going to, whatever the electricity is, whatever your water amount is, you're going to pay for that. We can somewhat control the transmission, the pipeline, and what it costs for capacity. The transmission portion, which comes from AEP, is the pipe. It's the wire. So the cost for a kilowatt per month is $11.33. So if you use a kilowatt for a whole month, that's $11.33. As that increases, of course, you get more money. They base that maximum amount that you pay for the entire year, not just on the day that you go high, but once the highest peak that you have, you pay that amount for the whole year, even on the low times. So what we do is we come online in order to kind of disappear off the electrical grid during the cold weather, or even in the summer, because transmission can happen anytime, it can happen on a Sunday morning. And that brings our transmission costs down, which I'll explain here in the year review a little bit more. In the summertime, it's the capacity portion, which is how much capacity do all the generation plants have that they can put into the pipe. If we can, once again, get off the grid, then we lower our costs for taking up. It's kind of like if you have a column and you need this much, well, you only buy that much. Where if you only need this much, you only buy that much. And the biggest problem with all of that is you're not buying for just the big day, you're buying for the whole year in order to cover the possibility that you may need that capacity anytime during the year. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
When this unit is operational today, what percent of capacity do you get out of it? If you turn it on completely on and ran it at full capacity, is 100%. What do you think it's producing based on its current state, and what do you think it'll produce after this $650,000?
In the current state, it has a mechanical speed regulation, which is warm. So in the summertime, we get maybe 4 megawatt out of it. In the wintertime, we may get 4.5 to 5, because turbines run better in the cold weather.
Mm-hmm.
But it's rated for almost 6.
Okay.
For instance, like 8 megawatt of transmission at the current rate is like $1.2 million savings a year. So we would slowly inch up those hundreds of thousands if we could get another $500K out of it in the winter and in the summer.
So basically, on the numbers you're given, in the summertime, you're getting about 80% capacity out of it.
Yeah, even our larger generators that are 18 megawatt, they'll only run 12 to 14 in the summer.
Okay.
Yeah, the hot weather really hurts a turbine.
Great explanation.
I hope I explained that
Yeah,
well
that was
enough that everybody
excellent.
understood that.
Any other questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay.
May I have a motion to approve resolution number 5?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Bryan,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Debra.
Yes.
Next on our agenda is the 2025 year in review electric utility. Al is going to go first.
Hi, I'm Al Sullivan, if you don't know me. First off, just like to point out some underground projects that the electric distribution worked on this year. We did a project up behind the Swanson building on the 100 block of the West High Street downtown. Put in some conduit and some three-phase boxes for a future three-phase service for that facility there. We also provided a new service to the Williams County Board of DD north on 15. And also we installed a conduit under Brunicardi Way for a future crossing on where Doc Diesel is on Brunicardi Way. We did a primary single-phase cable replacement between 632 and 702 Center Street to replace an old aging cable and reset a transformer box pad situation there. Replace a transformer at Lebanon and Mulberry Street, and we also provided a three-phase service for Doc Diesel, as I said, out on Brunicardi Way. Directional board, 1820 East High Street. This would be to provide a backfeed for the Eastland Estates subdivision that we didn't have previously. And then also we directional board with our crews at 1530 East High to provide a backfeed and cable replacement for Eastland Woods subdivision, east of town here. Deerfield subdivision was one of our biggest projects this year. We haven't completely, we have about 100-foot bore we still need to do, but the weather caught up with us, and we plan on getting out there and getting that as soon as this weather breaks a little bit for us. It's not really a good time to do that, to finish that work up. But we did replace quite a few feet of cable in that subdivision, which is roughly getting towards 50 years old. So that was a big project. And we also planned directional bore and secured funding for replacing the three-phase service for the Williams County Courthouse, and also relocating a three-phase transformer that's up along the building there. That's kind of landlocked, that we even have problems opening the door on it. So we do have that set aside and come up with a plan to bore that service in here in the spring. And then the last project is the Autumn Chase subdivision expansion, which is north of the existing Autumn Chase subdivision there south of town off Fox Road Drive. Overhead projects, we've replaced a number of different poles in different locations. I did include a list of them there, pointed out, you know, the 69 kV pole on the right picture there is right in front of the state bank. We've got that replaced. You know, a number of different ones. When we do a new service to a new facility, we always replace the pole for the three-phase feed. Anderson Beerland, we replaced the metering there, and also at the VFW. We worked at the power plant to install the 69 kV feed and the static wire going north down an alley there at the new power plant substation. And we also had some JV4 pole line work up by Mount Pillier from a storm that took out several poles up there that we worked up there. That was in the summer of last year. Replaced a recloser at Barn Manufacturing due to a lightning strike. And we also hung a temporary service for WBNO due to a fire. And the pole to the left, or the picture to the left is the pole we set with a crane. We had to install the switches. We didn't set the pole, we actually installed the switches on that pole. 69 kV level, there was 3 switches we needed to install there, and we had to use a crane to suspend the switch above and able to have our large buckets reach and secure that to the pole. So that's a picture that we had on that project. Finished the distribution work on East Edgerton Street. And we wrecked out the 34.5 on East Edgerton, and railroad tracks down here to North Main Street. And we also worked with AMP on JV2 blade switches down here at the JV2 generators. Lighting projects, East Village, we changed out 12 lights last year, poles and fixtures. The drawings on the right are just some working maps that we use to do that. We also installed new lights and fixtures on South Portland, just south of the senior center. And also through a streetlight petition, we installed a light and a feed on Chancellor Court. At Union Place, we also replaced eight lights and poles. As part of lights that were put in the 90s, updating lights. And Stonehenge Drive, we cul-de-sac is we installed 2 lights as part of that improvement or actually extension project there on Stonehenge. We did some light work at the Amtrak station, and also the city had a full depth replacement on Blakesley Avenue. We installed a couple lights, and Gary Drive, we also had some replacements there as well. Quite a few lighting projects this year. Unbilled services, of course, the Spring Fling, Jubilee, Day in the Park, Flare on the Square, Fall Fest, Bryan High School, temp service, and Christmas lights as we do every year. So we point that out. Some miscellaneous projects, distribution and Marcus Corridor trimming with Asplin Tree Crews. We do some infrared FLIR camera work on to look for any hot spots that we may have on our system. We do meter testing on a yearly basis, and we use Annexter to do that. And also one of the bigger projects is the new electric warehouse we had built. We doubled the size of what we had. It's a 100 by 120 foot warehouse with a connector to allow us to store our materials and equipment that we've had set now. We worked on the RP3 application, and we should be getting results from that in May, I believe. That was the end of September, I believe, when we had that submitted. We rented a skid steer, and we mulched 10 miles of the Marcus Corridor. The picture on the top right there, kind of all that undergrowth. Sometimes if you don't keep up on it, it starts growing in. That mulcher was able to keep it back so we can get our trucks and stuff down there to service any poles or anything on the corridor there. for a 138 line that goes to Lockwood Road there north of Sherwood. Also replaced some gates and posts on that line as well. We were involved in an electric system study along with Jim and the power plant. We should be getting results of that study. That also has a 10-year planning document in it, as well as short circuit reports. What else is in there? Some fault current stuff, and also just a lot of different things as part of that system study. We should be getting that here soon. And we did do a trial run with Itron, so their new CP3 polyphase meter. We did get 5 meters from them and installed them as part of a new Itron meter that they phased out. And they've come up with a CP3 meter, so we are doing a trial basis for them. Employees and community engagement. Rainer Clemens is in his second year. He finished his second year of line school, and Noah Landell was on his third year. We had retirements of Lee Stinky and John McGraw. And we did Wheels on Display, Touch a Truck. We had Noah went out for that. The Archibald Fire Department had a safety program. We sent Brandon, JJ, Derek and Justin over there. That's the picture on the right to provide a safety demonstration for the youngsters there. And we had a Bryan High School, Mr. Odell's career readiness program. A lot of us were involved in that. Trainings, we did some chainsaw training with aspen and tree experts. We did some directional bore training with Michigan Underground. We had our quarterly trainings with Jim Everly from AMP and our monthly trainings that we do with Steve Malchler. Assistance to other departments, power plant substation, which I mentioned. We always assist the street department with tree removals, the wastewater treatment communication board, directional bore we did for our communications department. The directional bore conduits for a future gate controller here at the utility. New high school football field service off Center Street. Replaced transformers at the transformer at the soccer field. Installed a conduit at Lincoln Park for a future service. Fiber installation in Edgerton. It actually was a relocation due to some squirrel issues and things. We relocated it out of a wooded area. And we had traffic signal setups on Lower Clark Lane and also on Town Line Road that we use to close the road down. That's the top left picture there, that we have access to these traffic signals for safety. Generator, worked with the wells 1 and 2 at off Perry Street, and we directional board water services for the water department on Town Line Road, and also on, we did another one on Lois Clark, and we did hydro excavation and held a pole in the alley behind the library for the street department as well. That's it. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This is part of what I was talking about earlier, capacity portion. It is June 1st to September 30th. The new capacity, last year the capacity cost was $8.21. This year it goes up to $10.01 per kilowatt month. We averaged about 29,000 kilowatts, saving a little over $3 million from the capacity portion from the power plant. The Auglaize hydro plant, we sell directly to AEP substation, which is beside the power plant. So that's not kind of a savings in that instance, it's more of a sell, and we just take that as a savings. And of course, that was in the 300 plus range. The solar field typically works a whole lot better during the capacity portion because it typically happens in the summer where transmission typically happens in the winter. And the reason for that is AEP's transmission coverage is pretty much straight down the middle of Ohio into Kentucky and Virginia to Danville, Virginia is the bottom of AEP. And like Monday morning, it was 90 degrees in Danville. Well, there's not a lot of gas in that area, so they have a high heat bill from electrical use. And so that's why it typically doesn't happen during the summer, typically happens in the winter time. But the solar field, at the time that the capacity happened was at 800 kilowatts and we saved just under 100,000, which gave us a capacity savings of 3.8 in that range. The transmission portion, now you can see where AEP service areas, this goes down into Arkansas and Tennessee and everything like that, but that part doesn't affect us. We're in the section from Ohio, from Chicago through Fort Wayne and down through Columbus in that area of West Virginia and Virginia. It can happen, like I said earlier, between November 1st to 31st, can happen on a holiday. They are not partial at all. Last year's happened on January 22nd. It's strange because Monday morning we hit 24 gigawatts in the AEP, which is the highest that AMP or I have ever witnessed. And you can see that last year it was well, I guess I don't have it up there, but it hit 23.7 last year, and that Monday morning we hit just over 24. So it's definitely went up. But at that time we were generating 43 kilowatts, or 1,000 kilowatts, which is 43 megawatts. Once again, the two GTs, the one out on Lawrence at County Road C and the one at the power plant, the Westinghouses, put out 18 megawatts each. The GE puts out roughly 5 or 6, depending on where it is. And then we have a Norberger diesel that puts out about 2.5. So when you add that all up, we get up to that much. And that's quite a bit more savings because it was already in the $11 range then, $11.33 per kilowatt month. So you get a little bit more out of that. And of course, we got the $6 million there. The hydro plant was at 1.8 megawatt. Well, once again, since it happened at 8 o'clock in the morning, the solar field didn't have much going on because first of all, it's dark, let alone the cloud cover and snow and everything else that could be on it. So our transmission savings were 6 and capacity was at 3, and that gave us a total savings of 10.4. And that kind of works out differently because since the capacity is June 1st to the next May 31st is when the charge is, we don't get the savings from the capacity started until June 1, and the transmissions are like November 1st. So it translates kind of strange, and but that's just the way it is. Questions about that?
It's a lot of savings.
I'm sorry?
Just a comment, that's a lot of money saved.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
So,
10 million.
you may not have the answer to the question, but I sit there and I look at the savings of $10.4 million, and that's great. My question is, what is the cost for us to make this savings? Because, I mean, running all these pieces of equipment are not free.
Well, right. The last year's cost, in December of 2022, on Christmas Eve and the day before, the 23rd, PJM called a maximum generation. When that happens, if you've done any generation behind the meter, you either run or you get fined. We were able to run those 10 hours both days and basically didn't pay for anything in January, February, or March. One of the things that we changed from that point on was we increased our cost a little bit because we started storing natural gas for the winter time, because after that happened, all the big generation plants started buying up the pipeline. At the time, Bob Iyer at Ohio Gas suggested that we buy storage like they do for all of us as residential customers, because if the pipeline gets caught up enough, when that cold day happens, you don't get nothing, so you just lose it.
Or you pay top dollar.
But yeah, it went
That was
it
another
went up
part
to
of the
almost
discussion.
$400 in MCF that night.
Yeah.
So what we pay is $610,000 for the storage up in Michigan. And then we pay, it totals out to about $1.2 million between the storage and the natural gas. I try to buy the natural gas, and I kind of go on Andy now over at Ohio Gas when they're going to buy it, and we've kind of combined when we buy it together. Last year we spent $2.42 per MCF. This year we had to go $3 and something. I don't have it off the top of my head, even though I just looked at it a minute. But it was almost $1 more an MCF. So that's why it went up to 1.2. So we're saving $10 million and spending $1, a little over $1 million.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Some of the recs from the renewable energy credits, places buy those from our hydro plant and from our solar field. We sold some recs from the hydro plant. That's $206 in income, and from the solar field, $84,000. So that totaled $291,000. Hopefully, if we move towards any other kind of solar or any other kind of energy like that, we can increase those rec sales in the future. And I just did this to show why the og race didn't do as well this year as before. 2025 was the lowest rainfall of those last few months, August through September 17th, since 1939. We didn't have any rain, and we don't like running the river dry because that makes us really bad neighbors for the upstream people. One of the regulations that we have at the og lays is April 15th to July 15th or July 1st. We're required to have it at 691 feet of elevation, and that's for ODNR's requirement for fish spawning upstream in the backwaters. After that, we can run it down, but then we get dozens of calls for boats setting in the mud. And they're never happy when they call me. But and the other thing is I was trying to conserve as much water as possible for December or January. That was my whole goal there. Solar generation, you can see where during the summer we do get a little bit more than we do get in the spring or in the winter or in the late fall. Power plant projects. With the power plant new substation up, which I don't know how to thank Al and Adam because the collaboration between our departments is so wonderful. They're helping getting all the aerial stuff done and things like that. But then we started decommissioning the Daggett substation. All the breakers we took out of there and all the equipment we took out of there, we're just going to leave the transformer set there for now until a decision is made what to do with those. But we're starting to scrap out the old 69 stuff so that we can get that cleaned up out there. GT1 and 2, the fire system for the tunnel was obsolete to where no one had any equipment to even update it. So we went with Snows and they got us a new system for that. And then a couple things there. The shaft going to the gearbox was leaking. Power plant operators took it apart, repaired that so that it didn't leak on the floor no more. And then also the torque converter fluid. Tom happened to be reading something where if we change that fluid, we'd have better transfer of power when we're starting up out. We start the turbines by starting a diesel engine that goes through a torque converter, that goes through an air clutch, that goes through a gearbox, that gets it spinning fast enough so it gets air so it can light up the burners. That was starting to slip. And he just happened to be reading through the book and found out that that fluid was supposed to be changed in a different regulator time frame than we were doing. So we increased the amount of time, or decreased the amount of time between doing that, and dramatic results. They started up really well now. So we do all that. We appreciate it. The other project is the 4969 kV oil containment. Was one of the things we had to finish up on the power plant. We bought the material for both transformers because we could decrease the oil containment because we didn't have oil breakers any longer. We got rid of those and went to SF6, so we only had to worry about the transformers. They sent a guy, and then the power plant operators did all the work with him. So he kind of guided them from the company, and we installed it that way. The fence was the same way. We did bring in straight line fence to do the stretching, but we set all the poles ourselves because I was a little worried of what we may find in the ground in that area. And we found things, concrete and conduits that nobody even knew was there. But I didn't want a fencing company just drilling through stuff and then us having to fix it later. So we did all that. One of the things that we took from Daggett was the emergency backup generator. We moved it out to industrial sub, so we didn't have to buy a new one. And the operators hooked that up. And then over here at the bottom right is, Al was talking about wells 1 and 2. Those are the controls we changed out and upgraded to that. Down at the Allgraves, the left picture there, which is kind of hard to see, but in front of every generator's opening is a metal gate that can come up and down electrically. It's about 15 feet wide and 20 feet tall. They were rusty through to the point where we couldn't do it. Once again, Al's crew was able to come down and help us set a coffer dam in front of it and then go down there and weld it back up and preserve its life for another 5 or 7 years. The frames will be worn out in 5 or 7 years where we'll have to actually replace them. But at least we got some more time out of that, and the guys were able to repair that down below. One of the other things we always had trouble with was on our exciters down there. Anytime the power blipped, it would blow components on the board and we'd have to change the electronic components. We put reactors in front of it on the 243 phase going in, and this year, since we've done that, we haven't had any failures. We're getting ready to upgrade those exciters to a little more modern ones than that are there, because the ones that are in there are obsolete to the point where the company that sold them doesn't even exist. And then on the right side, all the windows on the south side where the weather comes from were just wooden frames, and so we put sheet metal frames up there and sheet metal on them to block out the weather so that we didn't get damaged, because some of them went into where the switchgear was. And we didn't want a storm to blow through the windows and take those out. And one of the other things that we had done a couple of years ago was replace all the internal lights with LED 5,000 temperature Ks. So it's plenty bright enough inside when we're working, but this will protect all the equipment from any kind of weather. And that's kind of the highlights for our year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Next on the agenda is to effect the semi-monthly disbursements. May I have a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Bryan,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Debra.
Yes.
Next is comments from BPA and staff. Mayor, do you have anything? Pat? Jim, you have anything more to add? Al, you have anything more to add?
Yeah, recently, when was that? We sent a cruise down to South Carolina on mutual aid. We sent Bryan and Suffel and Noah Landell. We sent a bucket and a digger truck down there, and I think they left on Friday, wasn't it? Friday morning, yeah, Friday morning, and got down there. It took them quite a time to get down there, and they kind of wanted us to stage there before the storm came in, just to see what, ice was going to happen and what need that mutual aid was going to provide or being needed for them. We went with Napoleon, Marshall, Michigan, went with us. So we were in Eastleigh, South Carolina, and I think the guys got home Wednesday. Am I thinking right? Yeah. The following Wednesday, so it wasn't as bad as what they predicted, but we did do some work down there with Easley, and guys did a good job. They didn't have any more assignments after that, so they came home. I'm not sure, there's still some places, what I've been seeing on the news and stuff in Tennessee, but we didn't get any assignments there, so. If there's any questions on that, Adam will be glad to answer them.
They were expecting 3-inch ice down there, so that just, that spurred them to get a lot of local communities in. So we had a pretty good showing from AMP. I think we had about 30 total linemen out of all grant communities, so.
Yeah, Adam's our red sector coordinator for this area, so he's the guy that gets the calls at night and arranges to have all these crews. He's talking with Scott McKenzie from AMP, and they're trying to get assignments set up for these different crews and when they have to be there and stuff. Adam coordinates all that and does a great job, so I thought we'd bring that up.
I could comment at this point in relation to this. I had asked Derek about the crew that was down there, and he said they really didn't get a lot, they helped, and then they were gonna come home, and I said, what if they go to a different area that did get hit? What if they go west where it was worse? And he said, well, they can't, because they only hired contract employees, not municipal utility employees.
Yeah, we tried to kind of get it ran around Nashville because they got really torn up, but so they pretty much were locked into contractors already there on site, so they
That's too
felt they
bad.
had the staff they needed, so
Yeah.
pretty much everyone come home.
I wasn't aware of that kind of a situation. I think we talked about it once or twice before, but, it really surprised me with that kind of ice and danger level and vast power being out all over. Thought they'd welcome the help, but.
Yeah, contraction, I don't know where it's all at.
A couple of years ago, we went to Tallahassee and we sent them, they got reassigned to Newberry, South Carolina on the way back during that flooding and all that of Helene. And that was, we did get reassigned at that time, but it was in South Carolina, kind of the same area where we were at, so, in that Greenville area.
Yeah, we do try to relocate them. If they're released in Florida, we certainly try to find somewhere to get these guys ahead of time. And that was an area that was kind of missed by their coordinators. They split all of our crews up into, we all went to a town by ourselves, which normally we might have 4 or 5 crews together. They split all the AMP crews up, and it was just, they didn't realize the call for help was needed, so. Maybe something in the future they're calling a little sooner now. So.
Thank you.
Councilman Betts, you have anything to add?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Tom? Jim? Deb? Debra?
Well, thank you to Jim and Al for the presentations. That was very interesting, especially for me. So, thank you.
Jeremy?
I just want to reiterate a couple of things that I had brought up at the last meeting is that I'd like to see us, when they put the new pictures on the website, that we also add our personal bios. I realize historically why they were removed, but I don't know that it's necessarily necessary now. So, I guess that's up to each member of the board as to what they want to do. But the other thing too is, I talked about, I'd like to start videotaping this again. So what do we need to do? Do we need to make a motion? Do we need to do something to at least get to a point where we have an idea of what cost is and time frame and what it would take?
Derek is gathering the information from the past
Okay.
meetings, and we'll discuss it at a later time.
He's gathering,
He's the past information from what the cost was back then and the different avenues that we discussed.
okay.
I mean, technology has changed too.
Well, I
It's been
understand that.
a few years, right? When you last videotaped?
At least 2 or 3, probably.
Yeah.
I'll wait to see what he has to say.
Yep. Karen, do you have anything?
No, I don't tonight, other than thanking the gentleman for the presentation. You guys do good work, and your crews are excellent, so appreciate everything you do and how you stay safe as well, and that's how you get the rewards and awards from AMP and other agencies, so congratulations on that. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks to the guys that went down for the storm work. It's always appreciated, I'm sure. Great presentations. It always helps to, for us to see everything that's done and, in the slides and everything. So with that said, I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it.
Karen,
Yes.
Debra,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes,
Bryan,
Yes.
Jeremy.
Yes.
meeting adjourned.